So I want to be a creative person, but I'm not. So I'm going to try to figure out how to fix it. And this video is for Allie, me, to watch in times of angst. So the backstory, I'm trained as a nurse. Haven't done that in a while. And I've worked as a photographer for a while, for about 5 years. And that's not where I want to end up. I'm not even sure exactly where I want to end up, but I tend to have this mindset of like, oh, I have to go to art school to be able to become this creative person. I have all these excuses. And so the journey forward is like doing projects like you would do in art school. Looking back this past year, I did one creative project. We hosted our own baby shower this past summer. And the reason we hosted was because it was so many projects or so many creative endeavors, hats, if you will. It really gave me the chance to try my hand at a lot of different things creatively. So here's what I learned. First of all, it's going to be uncomfortable. On one hand, it was the perfect opportunity because I could have full creative control and I could try to be the planner, the stationery artist, the calligrapher, the florist, the baker, all of it. And you can literally do whatever you want. But then it's uncomfortable because who throws their own baby showers? So I struggled with this because socially, you don't really do that. It's kind of weird. And sometimes it's going to not like pan out the way you want it to. So it's going to be a little uncomfortable. You just got to deal with it as part of the package. Another thing is like, oh, like that sounds like way too much work. Okay, so part of like the work of it, I really wanted to use my own home as like the venue. Fancy way to say that. We wanted to host it at our house. We don't have that much space and it's not set up to host however many people. So like we cleared out the furniture to be able to host it. And like the response, even as we were doing this, people who knew we were doing this, they were like, that sounds like a lot of work for like what are you doing? And yeah, it was weird. It was uncomfortable. If it's worth doing, it's probably uncomfortable. Just listen to me, baby. Okay, lesson number 2, to be watched in times of angst. You're going to be bad at it. You try anything worth trying, you're going to be bad at it. Take florals, for example. I love flowers. I feel like I've been exposed to a lot of really beautiful florists' work in the fine art wedding world, where we work with these really talented vendors and we see these weddings that are stunning. And so I was like, oh man, so I had these grand plans of what this baby shower would look like. It was this whole journey of like, this is what's in my head. And then you have like this gap between like, this is the ideal and this is what like I can actually execute. I had mood boards created around florals and what I wanted that to look like. Then we went to local nurseries and tried to find these flowers. Turns out I like a lot of different types of roses, and those are hard to get and they're expensive. So trying my florals, turns out I'm pretty bad at it. And part of that is like, there's the arrangement part of it, but then there's the planning part of it, the logistics where you know how to source them, you know what's blooming, you know what the flowers are called. To store them is really sad because a lot of the flowers that I wanted to use the day of weren't blooming. We had a ton of rain, a ton of our flowers died. It was kind of a disaster, but it was an invaluable learning experience because I learned about like the process you need to go through to be able to have flowers ready for your event. And then I was quite fortunate because along the way, we went to the grocery store, like No Frills, the day before and found these little roses that were like kind of, you know, horribly ugly grocery story roses, and we retracted them. And I had watched so many YouTube videos about how to do this, and it actually worked. Even though I was really bad at it, It was an invaluable learning experience to go through and to have like this deadline pushing me to do it. People showing up, an event to actually work towards. You're gonna be really bad at something, but in the process of actually doing it, facing it, you learn invaluable things. Just build on it and become better, and maybe go somewhere with flowers. Okay, point number 3 to be watched in times of angst is if you don't do your creative ideas, you're gonna be stale. Like stale bread. Stale white bread. Nobody wants that. I guess you can make croutons, but that's really, really stupid. Okay, so you execute an idea, you get it out of your system, and then you can move on. So like, these mood boards were kind of like this buildup of like things I wanted to do, things I thought were beautiful and I wanted to try, but I had to get them out of my head. So now they're no longer there, and I can like, my imagination can keep going and coming up with ideas. So do your ideas so you don't become stale.
Oh no, just you and me, baby. You know I love you, wanna hold you tight. Listen to me, darling. You my sweet, sweet girl. What you love.
Number 4 is really simple. Stop making excuses. Do the projects to become the creative person and stop making excuses. That's all for that point. Okay, so for the 5th and final point that Allie needs to watch in times of angst is think about the alternative. Let's say you don't do your creative ideas. You become stale bread. Maybe you're more comfortable, but you're uncomfortable in more ways because you're not becoming who you want to become. You're bad at it. Okay. You got to be bad at something to be able to become good at something. I mean, you're going to be bad at it either way, whether you know it or not. Don't say like, oh, I could have done that. Try your ideas, Allie, or years will pass and you'll believe the lie that you could have done such and such if you had just tried.
I said, do what you love, baby, do what you love.
So cheers to a new year, friend, and let this be the year that we become that creative person. I'll see you next time.
What you love, what you love.